Hey guys, it's DB, and welcome back to another mailbag from Zelda World. We got 4 questions this week, so it's going to be really exciting to get started on this. Probably a longer mailbag, which is good. So let's just jump right into it then. Okay, so our first question comes from Hammerbro Mike, or Mike, the webmaster from ZE, and he asks, if Majora's Mask 3D were ever to see the light of day, do you think Nintendo would do the same sort of thing in terms of exclusive content and additions? I think definitely they would want to add some more stuff in. Definitely updated graphics. I mean, if they're doing it for Ocarina of Time, they do that for Majora's Mask too. Maybe a boss gauntlet, even though we can already replay the bosses. Maybe you could do them like all in a row or something, which is basically what Ocarina of Time they've said it's going to have. It's like you can just do all the bosses in a row right away. Even though you can already replay the Majora's Mask, I think it'd be cool if you could do it in like a gauntlet sort of style. As for any other additions, we've never really heard rumors of like an extra dungeon they took out, or any mask they took out, because, you know, there's 20 masks, basically, aside from the transformation masks. So I really don't think much more would be added, except for updated graphics and possibly a boss gauntlet. Maybe a Master Quest, though. Majora's Mask is already a pretty tough Zelda game. I don't know what they do for Master Quest, make it a bit harder. I mean, it's not really tough in terms of difficulty, but just the gameplay style is definitely a bit tougher than most Zelda games. Maybe up the difficulty a bit. Move the keys around in some dungeons, like in the original Ocarina of Time Master Quest, reverse it. You know, it could pretty much be the exact same thing as Ocarina of Time 3D, just Majora's Mask, I guess. Okay, so this next question comes from Poco Dudeface, and he asks, when making Ocarina of Time, the Forest Temple was originally supposed to be a Wind Temple. So do you think it would be cool if in Ocarina of Time 3DS they added the option of doing a Wind Temple instead of the Forest Temple? Or maybe they could do both, and the Wind Temple would be a smaller mini-dungeon. Yeah, I definitely think it'd be cool to add the Wind Temple in of some type. Also, there have been rumors that there was a Light Temple originally, which I think would be really cool. But anyway, that's besides the point. The Wind Temple, I think most likely what I'd want is to have a mini dungeon, because more dungeons is always good. I mean, the Ice Cavern was cool. It wasn't like the most awesome thing ever, but it was pretty cool to have like a little mini dungeon in between the main dungeons. Sort of like in Twilight Princess, you have more overworld stuff. In Ocarina of Time, it was more going to a dungeon and get this, like under the well, the Ice Cavern. But yeah, I think they should definitely sort of include the Wind Temple of some type. Although I never really heard rumors, to be honest, that it was originally going to be the Wind Temple. I mean, considering it was Kokiri Forest and it was in the Lost Woods, I mean, I've never heard it would be called the Wind Temple, but thanks for enlightening me. I didn't know that, but yeah, I want them to include some sort of new temple in Ocarina of Time, basically, whether it be the Winds or Sky Temple or Light Temple, whatever. Okay, so this next question comes from Juicy J, and he asks, what are your thoughts on an original 3DS Zelda title? Would you want something original or a sequel to Spirit Tracks, or maybe both? Yeah, I definitely think they're going to make a 3DS Zelda title no matter what. I mean, since the 3DS seems to be capable of graphics of that of GameCube or even better, there would be no reason why they couldn't release a full-fledged Zelda game, like, of the scope of Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time. I mean, considering they're making Ocarina of Time for the 3DS. I mean, you know, Spirit Tracks was a pretty long game, but it just wasn't on the same scope as Ocarina of Time. It just wasn't as big. I mean, even though the overworlds are big, you have to travel on the train tracks. It's not the same. You really can't go everywhere. Ocarina of Time is a bigger game, and seeing that they're releasing it with better graphics even for the 3DS, I think it's definitely time for them to start releasing games as good as the console on handhelds. However, if they were to do that, that would make viewers have to pick between the console Zelda or the handheld Zelda, which is why I think it would be good to stick to the style that Spirit Tracks has. Even though I would like to see a full 3D Zelda on it, I mean, maybe they will not make them this big. I'd like to see it, but personally I think it's good to keep, like, maybe the less hardcore games on handheld, like, you know, smaller games, and the fuller games, the bigger hardcore Zelda games, you know, harder and bigger, would be on the console. I mean, that seems most likely to me and what I want. Although, I mean, I would like to see something new, like a full Zelda game on a handheld. That'd be really cool, like full 3D and everything. Alright, the last question comes from Skirmefferton, the webmaster of Zelda World, and he says, or asks, I hear Miyamoto mention he's working on a new Zelda title. Do you think it'll be for the 3DS or the rumored Wii HD? Well, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be for the 3DS, like, sort of tying in with the last question, kind of funny. But considering they're developing Skyward Sword still, and it's for the Wii, they're probably going to be working on a handheld Zelda next. I mean, it's kind of an awkward situation to be talking about because, like, console Zeldas obviously take a lot longer to develop, especially since Skyward Sword is a new game, and Ocarina of Time 3D is just a remade game with better graphics and stuff. So I think it's more likely to come out in the handheld for that reason, because they just finished, developing a huge Zelda game, Skyward Sword. Well, I'm assuming it's huge. It better be. But yeah, they just finished developing that, and I mean, this new Zelda would most likely be for the handheld, in my opinion, because there'll just be more space to work with, more time, because Ocarina of Time is taking less time to develop. Too many times here. Although I would like to see another console Zelda game, as many people would probably agree with me, the 3D console Zeldas are probably the best in the series, the most fun to play, in my opinion. I mean, like, I'm a huge fan of the older games, but I'm always looking forward to the console Zelda, the big release every few years, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, all of those. I'm always a big fan of those, rather than the handhelds, because the handhelds just aren't as big, and they don't make a huge deal of the releases, Even though Oracle of Ages, for example, is a great game, when it came out, people weren't like, oh my gosh, it's Oracle of Ages, it's the greatest Zelda game ever, even though it's probably one of my favorites. It's just not as hyped, not as marketed, I guess. Anyway, I sort of went off topic there, but I think it's most likely going to come out for the handhelds. That's a real roundabout way of answering that question. So yeah, the Zelda side I was talking about is probably going to be for the 3DS. Although it'd be great if it was for the next console, because that means maybe only a 2-year gap between two console Zelda games, like Majora's Mask and Wind Waker. I think Wind Waker was released in 2002. But yeah. Alright guys, well that about wraps this mailbag up. I hope you enjoyed watching and enjoyed the questions. But you know what you should do? You should send in questions to this mailbag, because we need more people to send in questions. I'm happy to answer them. It's a lot of fun. I'm sure it's a lot of fun for you guys. At least I hope it is. So yeah, send in your questions and the video cast. We still haven't gotten many staff applications for that. So go ahead if you're interested. If you have a decent camera and like giving Zelda news and content updates, then I'd love to have you. We would love to have you on the team to be the video cast director. So please just sign up. If you have any slightest whim, I mean, it'd be great to have this video cast thingy get going, because the mailbag's great, but it'd be great to work alongside with someone else. So, yeah, send in your questions, and I sign up for the video cast or whatever. So, this is DB signing out. I will see you guys later.